I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry. 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 I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, okay?
Hey, you. Welcome back to I'm Sorry, Okay? A podcast where we are watching so much Degrassi. I'm Mary here with Paul and LD. This week we watched Season 2, Episode 12 of Degrassi Junior High, He's Back. This episode was written by Jan Moore and Susan Nielsen, directed by Clark Mackey, and originally aired on March 21st, 1988. Content warning for this episode. We will be discussing inappropriate student-teacher relationships and sexually predatory behavior. In this episode, the teacher who sexually harassed Lucy returns to Degrassi and sets his sights on an unweary Susie.
Jan Moore and Susan Nielsen need to chill.
They have written some truly dark content.
They need to just calm down.
They were like, how can we re-traumatize everyone and also make sure that we blame Lucy for this somehow?
Yeah, it really felt like they're pushing this whole episode. They're pushing for like, if you just report it, like everything will be okay. And like,
as we know.
yes, that's not how that works. But yeah, they're really trying to emphasize like just disclosing is like that's gonna be enough. And I don't know if we'll really see what happens after that.
I doubt it. I don't
usually
know.
get much follow up.
No.
Well, all right.
Woof.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you guys saw my notes. I literally just wrote, ugh.
Yeah. So we open with a Colby flashback nightmare. Lucy is dreaming about when she and Colby were alone in Radich's classroom, and Colby starts doing some nightmare ASMR with a ton of reverb on his voice. Lucy wakes up yelling, "No!" She lays back down and then cries in the soft light of her fish tank.
We are all Lucy yelling no.
Yeah.
We were all like,
begins.
no.
It's just like, oh man, this fucking guy.
I'll just say from a TV standpoint, I like the nightmare dream sequence as an episode recap previously on sort of thing. Sure.
Yes.
Good job, guys. You did it.
Catch us up.
Yeah, thank you. And make it creative. Great.
Yeah, we have seen quite a few of these like dream sequence like openings.
This is the first one that was like a specifically like previously on Degrassi.
Yes, where she's like remembering a very specific situation that happened instead of like dreaming about, you know, some anxiety that she's having like Joey or Caitlin. I'm like, who else's dreams have we seen? I think it's just the three.
There were no lesbians in this dream.
Yeah, no
Definitely
lesbians, no bullies, just a creepy man.
Well, anyway, it's time to wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
Moving on from this dream.
Yes. Okay. So then next we go to LD and Lucy in the hallway. So LD goes to talk to Lucy at her locker before class. She asks Lucy if she wants to go shopping to help her find something to wear to her cousin's wedding. But Lucy doesn't even hear her because she's so distracted by her dream last night and thinking about Colby.
So is this like the first storyline that we've gotten from Lucy this whole season since the last Colby episode?
I feel like, yeah, she's barely been around.
Yeah, and so and that was like episode 2, and we're on like episode 12 now.
But it's like believable then that like if this is how she's like interacting with people still and just sort of like out of it, that like I kind of like that they held back with her and didn't just like try and have another episode,
Right.
yeah, where she's like, let's have a party or like whatever. It's like she's sort of MIA, like out of commission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we do find out a little bit about what she's been up to. So she tells LD she can't go shopping because she's volunteering at a daycare after school, which started as her community service, but she actually likes working with the kids, especially Susie's sister, Nora Jean.
Adorable.
What do we think LD wants to wear to a wedding?
Truly no idea.
Like, if she's asking Lucy to come with her, it kind of makes me think like LD wants to go like all Miami Vice in a suit, but that her dad is probably like making her wear a dress. And she's like, I guess I'll bring my high femme friend.
Can't you just wear something nice, honey?
That is absolutely the kind of stuff my mom would say to me when I was younger.
Oh, oh, I've heard it too. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, you know, Lucy does seem sort of like the go-to friend for fashion advice, and she does love to give a makeover. But yeah, LD wasn't like into her makeover, so I'm not really sure what she's looking for here, except that, yeah, she maybe has like no idea what she's gonna wear to a wedding. I kind of feel like she would just default to wearing a dress, but it would be cool if she picked out some sort of pants option.
I feel like 2021 LD is wearing like a boiler suit from Wild Fang.
Yeah.
That like car mechanic chic.
Actually, the janitor is kind of basically wearing that like later on in the episode.
Yeah.
The cool janitor. So maybe that's who Lucy should be asking for shopping advice. Also, the fact that there's just like a daycare apparent, I don't know if it's in Degrassi or just nearby, but I was like, why can't Spike's baby just go to this daycare?
Probably because it costs more than her mom makes in a year.
I guess
There it
that is
is.
possible.
Yep.
All right. Anything else about this interaction? Lucy's got like artwork from the kids hanging in her locker. So yeah, I think Paul, like you're saying, how we haven't really seen her. I think it's because she's been trying to like kind of move on from like all the turmoil in her life, and she's been like working at this daycare and just kind of seems like she has a focus where, you know, she was really lonely before, so it seems like she's found something positive to like kind of fill that void of neglect from her parents.
Damn.
Wonderful.
She's like, I'll just parent these other kids. All right. So Lucy goes to the office to pick up her exam schedule, but she has to wait because Doris is on the phone with Miss Avery, who we find out is an actual Karen.
Oh yeah. Karen
Karen
Avery.
So Miss Karen Avery is out sick and she's going to be out for a few days. And then Mr. Colby walks in because he is the substitute.
It is like Lucy manifested this.
It must have like kind of like tripped her out that like, yeah, and we don't know, maybe she's having this dream every night, but yeah, she like has this dream, she's all distracted, and then he just like appears. Or maybe she could just feel that like something was coming. Like maybe Lucy's just sensitive.
She's powerful.
Yeah.
Colby looks even more jacked up than before too. Like
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I wrote in my notes, full offense. Colby looks like he's aged 30 years since his last episode.
His face looks like a baseball mitt.
So rough. Yeah. You got to oil that shit and keep it under your mattress. I just was like, is this somebody like on this like writing staff's like family member or like partner? Because like they keep like telling us he's so handsome. And I'm just like, this man
No.
is just like a man.
Okay, I have a Colby theory. I don't know the best time to relay it.
Oh, now
But,
is the
like,
time.
Whenever he's interacting one-on-one with people, he kind of seems like a robot to me. So I feel like Colby is like not a real human and there's some sort of supernatural element going on where he's like some kind of sexual assault robot.
He's like Ted from Buffy.
Yeah, that's exactly who I thought of. Yeah, there's a Buffy episode where her mom starts dating this robot guy.
It's John Ritter too.
John Ritter, yeah. And he acts one way around everyone else and then he'll act another way like in one-on-one conversations, and it just like definite like Colby robot vibes. I'm just saying.
It's a good single episode of Buffy if you're ever looking for one.
Does Buffy
Sure.
catch on to the fact that Like, does she suspect that something's going on and her mom's like, oh no, you're being silly? Or
She keeps being like, he threatened me. He's like, she's trying to be like, I don't trust this person. He makes me feel unsafe. And everyone is gaslighting her. And everyone is like, maybe the problem is you, Buffy. Because everyone else likes this guy. And it's the same way that everyone else like really likes Colby and thinks he's like such a great teacher. But every time he has like a one-on-one interaction with someone, it's very like robotic and like weird. And he speaks with like zero emotion in his voice. I feel like it was an acting choice, but to me it just comes across as like either being really calculated, so like he's really specific in what he's saying, which could be, for someone who's a predator like this, that could be what's going on, is he's just very precise in how he like speaks to people because he's covering his tracks. He's a robot.
Do you think that this was Joss Whedon's source material?
Possibly.
Because also, isn't Joss Whedon an assault robot?
Creepy robot? Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He is. Anyway. Colby says hello. And then Lucy like kind of runs out of the office and right into Susie and Caitlin.
Well, and Lucy has to hear Doris literally say, "Nice to have you back, Mr. Colby," which like,
exactly.
No.
Yes. Everyone loves this guy. And so far only like Lucy, Wheels, and LD know the truth about him. And also actually Caitlin later on, she's got a weird vibe about him too.
Yeah, she gets a vibe, but also like I think we're seeing, based on how many people are talking about how amazing he is, we're seeing why she hasn't reported this. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to report like a beloved like teacher or whatever.
And Lucy has a reputation. She's shoplifted. She had to do community service. So like when you look at kind of her reputation compared to Colby's, it's like obvious why she wouldn't want to, be in a situation where it's her word against his.
And she's got a very difficult relationship with her parents, and they might just think that she's doing this for attention. And on top of that, she's a young woman of color who is statistically less likely to be believed.
And she's getting her life together. So it also feels like if she starts bringing this up now, people are going to think like, Lucy, you're just getting back on track. Like, why are you kind of bringing this all up now, sort of thing? And we're not saying any of this, but we're just trying to see from Lucy's perspective what she might be feeling.
Like storyline wise, it just seems like she's having trouble focusing on things. And so she's like having trouble meeting due dates with this paper and like inadvertently like kind of pissing people off too.
Right. Caitlin and Susie kind of start harassing her about handing in her pictures for the yearbook. And even though Lucy is clearly distracted and trying to just get out of the conversation, they're really persistent and they seem personally offended that Lucy hasn't gotten around to handing in these photos.
Yeah, I have something to say about this. If Lucy is working on the yearbook, that means that in theory, she has at the very least been working on the yearbook for the semester, if not the whole year, right? Yearbook is something, it's a club, it's an extracurricular. You're on it usually for the year. So if they've been working with Lucy for a while, then surely they will have noticed that there's been like a behavior change, as you would when someone, just all of a sudden stops like handing stuff in on time or is like different in conversations or whatever. And like,
maybe.
I mean,
but I think my impression was that everyone had to hand in photos to be included in the yearbook. So not that Lucy is specifically working on the yearbook, but that she's just like one of the last people to turn in her photos.
I mean,
which even then they haven't even started working on the actual yearbook. So I don't know why they're being so strict on the due date.
Yeah, this is the other thing. But I was just kind of thinking like not to obviously place this on other people, but like, if you see somebody who seems like they're having a tough time or they're missing deadlines or whatever, the very least you can do as a person in their life, whether you're super close or not, is just check in and see if they're okay.
Right.
I mean, it's the bare minimum, but I feel like a lot of people aren't even equipped for that. Like, I feel like you hear about that with actual teachers, like adult teachers, like fail to meet those standards all the time. So I don't know.
Yeah, it is like instead of coming at somebody of like just presuming that they're being lazy or forgetful or doing something to intentionally annoy you, why not just be like, hey, we want these pictures because we want to make sure you're included in the yearbook. Like, what's going on? But instead, they're so intense about it.
I also in my notes I also wrote, "Get that Virgo energy out of here, babe," about Susie, and then wrote, "Go find a YouTube comment section to argue in," because it just sucks.
All right, so Scooter comes in and he tells everyone they're getting a substitute and they're all pumped and immediately start plotting against the sub, except for Kathleen, who thinks their ideas suck and tells them that they've all been done before, right as Colby walks in and agrees with her.
Okay, here's my question. Number one, did you two, like me, shudder with disapproval at yourself for agreeing with Kathleen in this moment? And number two, were you ever in a class that pranked a sub?
Number one, yes. Number two, no.
I'm also a yes and a no. I actually agreed with Kathleen like throughout this episode. It was a strange experience.
I mean, she didn't have too much to say. She was just like, this is dumb, which like, yeah, easy.
Yeah, I actually really vibed with that. Yeah, I too am a yes and a no. I feel like there were a few classes where people were talking about pranking teachers, and I was always just like, why?
It's never good.
They're not going to look upon you favorably after you like put chalk in their coffee or whatever.
Well,
Plus-
yeah, that one especially seemed like it might be a crime.
I don't think chalk is poisonous.
Well,
think-
I hope not.
I think it's like safe. I just don't think it'd be nice.
So the ideas were like tacks on the chair, someone yelling flood drill in the middle of the class, and everyone standing on their desks, and then the chalk. The
mean,
girl with the flood drill idea, she had this really raspy voice. She sounded like
a gremlin.
Somebody could yell flood drill and then we'll all stand on our desks.
Listen, she smokes a pack a day on her shift at the diner.
Yeah, coffee and cigarettes all day, every day.
So I was like, is this an adult? Like, is this like a what's that Drew Barrymore movie?
Never Been Kissed.
I was like, is this a Never Been Kissed situation where this is an adult woman presenting herself as a teen?
I don't know, where's David Arquette? The best part of that movie is that David Arquette shows up and becomes the popular guy. What a movie!
Wow.
Whew, truly, what a movie.
I'm literally trying to find anything other than this episode to talk about.
I know, yeah, we just keep like going off like, what else can we discuss? Okay.
Colby even just sounds like a creep when he's like introducing himself.
I'm Mr. Colby, and I'll be taking Miss Avery's place for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kathleen and Melanie have a side convo where the Degrassi writers want us to believe that Melanie thinks Colby is a
total utter hunk.
So you can get to know me.
Melanie is just horny as hell this entire episode.
for Colby. Like,
For
what?
Colby. It does not track for me whatsoever.
No.
Maybe if he were some Colby cheese, I would get why she was so into it, but
What?
Oh,
They
yeah.
replaced him with just a block of Colby cheese.
like a sentient block of Colby cheese that regenerated every time you took a bite out of it.
Okay. I'm casting my brain back to the robot conversation. Here's a little detail that I forgot to regale you with, which is I believe in kindergarten, I was in a play. I do not remember what my part was, but it clearly wasn't significant. But it was called Colby's Missing Memory, and it was about a robot that loses its memory.
Oh, that's how he's going to try to get out of this. He's going to be like, I checked my data storage, but I found no recollection of this interaction.
It's just an expression. A robot expression.
Wow.
You're really good at
I've
being a robot.
I've got a lot of voices this episode.
Robot notes app apology.
Yeah, I hope
Oh,
that
wow.
I hope the robot theory will make more sense. I feel like I didn't do a good job of building my case initially. I wasn't prepared, but I think we'll all start to see where this is going.
This is incredible. I love this theory.
All right, so next we have Colby says hi to LD as he's leaving school, and Wheels sees them and then tells LD he can't believe Colby is back.
LD's gonna kick his ass.
Yeah, and but LD like tells Wheels like Lucy never reported him. Yeah, LD's just like staring at him when he like says hi to her.
She just like death stares. We get a little exposition that like they are like, yeah, well, Lucy didn't report him, even though at the end of the previous episode they left it more open-ended.
Yeah.
Right, they were kind of saying like we'll go with you if you want, and so we know that like yeah, obviously she never ended up.
But there's more of like a sense of disappointment in this episode, I'm noticing.
They're shifting the blame to Lucy for not reporting and not on Colby for actually being the one.
Well, I think they're
to harm
plenty
somebody.
blaming Colby, but they're also just like, no one is going to know about this unless you say something. I do it like I'm like an aggressively helpful friend. And that is obviously because I am a Capricorn rising. And I love to give unsolicited advice. So I do understand that like it can be very frustrating from the outside when it's not happening to you to be like, okay, you just have to do this thing. But also it's like, as we've already discussed, for many, many, many reasons, why doing that thing, i.e. in this case, reporting, isn't necessarily going to give you the outcome that you want and may actually give you many more outcomes that you don't want.
Right.
Yeah. And then the scene ends and they're just like, anyway, bye. I just loved that. I don't know.
So in the last episode, Wheels just got grounded from seeing Snake and Joey, and so I feel like he's already leveled up and now he's hanging out with like LD and Lucy. So then after school, Lucy is volunteering at the daycare. She's hanging out with Nora Jean, Susie's little sister, and Nora Jean is painting a picture for her.
Adorably.
Yes, very adorably. Susie comes to pick up Nora Jean, and Nora Jean gives the painting to Lucy, says goodbye, and then Susie's like, at least somebody has pictures.
When did Susie become
Yeah.
Kathleen? Hated it.
So if she doesn't bring the pictures in, don't include her in the yearbook. Like,
Yeah.
for me, I'm just like, why? Just be like, okay, if you don't get your pictures in, they're not going to be included. Yeah, these two definitely have some major beef, and it felt like a Virgo versus Cancer fight.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, Susie's just being, like, super strict and rigid, and Lucy is, like, very private and sensitive and is just kind of, and gets, like, a little bit defensive, but she's just kind of, like, I think she's more just like, why are you acting this way? Like all of us.
I do wonder if, like, as the audience, we were supposed to be like, why doesn't she just tell Susie what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's kind of like the moral of a lot of Degrassi stuff. But I'm like, these two aren't friends. I wouldn't disclose shit to Susie.
They're not friends, and Susie is not being very, like, nice to her.
No, if Susie had been like, hey, you were really enthusiastic about submitting pictures, but you haven't, is everything okay? That might be different. But, you know, what we're getting is just like, well, at least somebody has pictures.
Unnecessary sass.
Seriously.
And then yeah, so the actress that plays Nora Jean is the actress who plays Lucy's real life sister.
They look so much alike. They're so cute.
They do. And I felt like it made sense because they had like really good chemistry together.
Yes.
So that was super cute. And then I also saw that so the actress that played Nora Jean, Leah Helen Weir, she was also in an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark and an episode of Goosebumps.
Oh my God, she is TV royalty.
And actually, LD, I don't know if we told you this, but the actress who plays Lucy she's in La Femme Nikita.
No way.
We watched the first episode of La Femme Nikita just as a like quarantine, like, hey, remember that show? Let's check it out. And I thought that like there's this neighbor character and I was like, she looks so familiar. Like, who is she? And then I like looked it up and I was like, it's Lucy. So I think she's like a regular character. She like lives across the hall from La Femme Nikita.
La Femme Nikita.
This is like when I started watching Riverdale and I was like, Tony Topaz looks so familiar. Where did she come from? And I was like, she was on Degrassi.
Oh, yeah. She's like Drew's baby's
No,
mom.
Dallas's.
Or Dallas's.
Yeah,
That's
Dallas's
right.
baby's
Dallas's
mom. I was like, oh my God, Vanessa.
Yeah.
And her name's Vanessa in real life. So we love to see art imitating life.
Yes. So the next day in Colby's class, there's collages of magazine ads on the board and they're critiquing a car commercial. Colby tells them if they watch TV tonight to pay attention to what they're seeing and tells them that the people who made this commercial were trying to sell cars to men and not women.
He's not
A
wrong.
feminist lesson. Yeah, it was like a good lesson, which was also
They-
like, why is this the only
Yes.
teacher teaching quality
Yeah, once again,
lessons?
they got to remind us he's like the only good teacher at Degrassi and like creating class discussion.
Seriously.
It looked really
Yeah.
fun. Like that's the kind
Yeah.
of class discussion I would have loved.
Yes.
I love that they're doing this in like junior high and I had to wait until like community college to like
Well,
get to do some like feminist critique of like media and like ads.
you didn't have a sexual assault robot substitute at
That's
your
true. I
school.
never had a
I love this interaction between Caitlin and Melanie where Caitlin's like,
I think he's kind of creepy. Wrong, Caitlin. Not creepy, sexy. There's a big difference.
She's so horny this episode.
It's really weird. Yeah, like after class, so like Melanie, Susie, Caitlin, and Kathleen are talking about how great the class was. And then, yeah, Melanie will just not stop talking about how hot she thinks Colby is. And Caitlin is the only one who disagrees. And then Susie stays after class to ask if Colby will help with the yearbook since Miss Avery was advising them. And Colby is like, yes, of course I'll do that.
ugh.
Okay, not to shit on Susie again, but this is stupid. Like,
It's like 1 week. Like,
Also-
yeah, you can't wait until Miss Avery's back.
or ask an actual teacher at Degrassi who like
Who
knows
goes
how the yearbook works to like sit in. Like I'm sure Doris could be an advisor. I'm sure Mr. Radich could be an advisor. I'm sure if they had other teachers, one of them could. Who knows?
It's like extremely random.
Like I'm just like, this is not how substitute teaching works. Like you're paid
Yeah.
for the day.
No.
Like-
Yeah, you wouldn't stay after and help with like a group or like a club or something.
No, you super wouldn't.
No.
You're getting paid
Um,
$113 or something. I've obviously done substitute teaching.
Oh, a couple of things I wanted to point out. First, when they're having the conversation about the car commercial, my who is she from episode 10 makes an appearance. And she like calls out like the sexual objectification of like women in the car commercial. And she has a really sick side ponytail. And she just like looks great.
Who is she?
I don't know. I'm still not sure.
We still don't know.
Oh yeah, and then also just back to Melanie being real horny in this episode. Susie says she has to stay and ask Colby a question, and she's like, ask him if he's married.
Whenever I see a plot like this, or indeed when I saw people like this, even in like middle school, because obviously there was always like one person who had a crush on a teacher or whatever. My question is always like, what do you see happening here? You know what I mean? So not to tie this too closely to Riverdale, but I'm about to. So fucking buckle up. In the beginning of season 1 of Riverdale, we find out that Archie Andrews is sleeping with his music teacher, Miss Grundy. And at one point, one of his friends is just like, okay, well, what do you think is going to happen? Like, like you're in high school. She like, what do you think? You guys are just going to like be together? And he's like, I don't know. I just want to be with her. Okay.
Like, no, it's not okay.
As long as I can. And it's like, you can't actually. Like, it's the same on Dawson's Creek when Pacey Witter is having an affair with his teacher. This is a common theme on teen shows.
Oh yeah, Pretty Little Liars. There's a long-term relationship between a student and a teacher.
It is just like the honest question I have for Melanie. It's like, what do you think is going to happen? Like, you, a like 13-year-old who just bought your first like training bra, are going to ask this substitute teacher, who is a fully grown adult man, if he has a wife.
Allegedly.
And if he says no, what is the next step? I've just got so many questions. And
to me, it's weird because it's enough that they think he's a great teacher. But I don't know why they have to add in this element where like the students also think he's like hot when it's not even like he's a young teacher or so he's like close to like their, I don't know, someone's brother's age or something. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing to make it like make sense that Melanie is like so into this like dude who appears to be middle-aged. So yeah, so these kids are like desperate for feminist theory, but unfortunately it's coming from Colby.
Isn't that just like kind of always the way it is?
Ain't that just the way? LD, Wheels, and Lucy are studying in the resource center when Colby walks in. LD calls him Mr. Sicko, but Lucy tells them that nothing happened. LD and Wheels both saw Colby being inappropriate, though. But Lucy, kind of downplays it. She says she must have let him on. And LD thinks Lucy should report Colby, but Lucy thinks it will be a hassle and says he doesn't bother her. And she's the one that's supposed to be bothered, right? And then Lucy goes to drop off her yearbook pictures. So yeah, this is when we're kind of starting to get into the conversation. It's like sort of supportive, but it's also really pushing a specific outcome rather than like, really asking Lucy what kind of outcome or what she wants to happen.
I mean, they feel like powerless in a situation that they're also involved in, though. So they've like they're both kind of saying like, we witnessed this happen, but they have no like real recourse, if that's the right
They
word.
can't like disclose what happened without outing Lucy. And so and they don't want to do that. Yeah.
Like it's believable to a degree. Like I get what you're saying about like the kind of deeper conversation of like putting the onus on a victim. But just as like a scene in itself, like I believe it that like these two kids are just sort of like, but what else are we supposed to like do in this situation? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like really bad for Lucy because she just doesn't want to deal with this and she's trying to like do her own shit. Like she's not, she didn't ask for this and she doesn't want this to be brought up again. And it's totally understandable that she just wants to like move on from what happened. She doesn't want to get stuck in this place of like thinking about this situation that clearly it's been really hard for her to like, try to move on from regardless. And now this guy is like back.
Yeah. But as they're leaving the library, we get a good look at Wheels in my look of the week.
Oh,
Yeah. Just classics. Just a classic sweater with a little flannel under it look. But his flannel, it's sort of a like white and brown flannel. And his back, his like over the shoulder bag matches the flannel, which to me brings it to look of the week status.
I didn't select this as my look of the week, but I also wanted to mention Lucy's sweater, which is like a handmade sweater that says Lucy on it. And then it's like paired with like a pink scarf in her hair. It's just like, it's like with puffy paint, like she made like her own little Lucy sweater, which is just very cute.
Hell yeah.
I feel like in the next scene, that sweatshirt is such a clear indicator of the age difference between Colby and Lucy. Like it's this like 40 something, maybe year-old dude who's like chasing down a very young girl. Who's
like a
just
literal child.
A literal child
her,
who's in a puffy paint personalized
Yes.
sweatshirt that she made herself.
with her
Yeah.
name on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it like, yes, Mary, everything you said is true, but yes, LD, like it's a good assessment that it's just like she looks extremely like childish isn't specifically the right word, but
because
it's just
it has
like,
a negative connotation, but like she
Yeah.
looks her
Youthful.
age, right?
It
Like
is
yeah, she
youthful.
looks youthful because
Yes.
she's a youth.
Two Utes. I would also just like to call out the absolute just I think evilness maybe of math. So in this scene when they're in the library, Wheels is like, wait a minute, I don't get it. And then LD is like, when you subtract a negative integer from a positive one, you actually add it. And I'm just like watching this and I'm just like, how the fuck does that make sense? People who
It
are good
doesn't.
at math are fucking psychopaths. It is.
There's also a scene later where Joey and Wheels are talking and Joey says something about a negative, like, but how can a number be negative? And Wheels is like, don't confuse me.
I got into a whole conversation with my partner about this last night. I was complaining about this scene and I was just like, is that actually true? Because he's like good at math. And obviously, well, not obviously to people listening, but I feel like now it's very clear based on this conversation. I've never passed a math class in my entire life because I fell through the cracks of public school and didn't get diagnosed with dyscalculia until I was 27 years old. But like math is just the worst. And he was just like, he was talking about negative numbers and he was like, really, they're sort of just a concept. They're not really real, but we talk about them a lot in math. And he was like, there's not really a real world application for a negative number. And then we started talking about debt and I was like, right, but debt obviously isn't real. Like money isn't real. Like you can't have less than what you have. And so we just got in this like whole conversation about like basically how math is just like capitalist system brought to life. Like I fucking hate math.
I would go down like little mental wormholes of like what I philosophically think about math when I would like hit that brick wall in math class, and I would just be like, this is obviously not real. Like somebody made this up, and like, yes, it's the basis of a lot of like functionality in our society, but our society's on fire. So that sucks.
Dude, were you like me? Okay, did you guys see Hidden Figures?
No.
Okay, first of all, it's good. I love it, right? Like, I love Janelle Monáe. I love Taraji P. Henson. Like, a wonderful cast. But they're like showing these like stacks of just like math that they're doing. And then they like show someone going to the moon. And I'm like, I do not fucking get how that stack of paper translates to that motherfucking dude on the moon. Like, absolutely not.
Did it?
I mean, apparently.
Did they go to the moon?
Apparently not. I don't know. All right, fucking flat earther shit is getting real conspiratorial over here. Like, I was down for the Colby's a robot chat, but I'm gonna draw the line that the moon landing is fake.
Look, we're just here to ask questions, okay?
I'm just asking the questions that no one else wants to ask.
I mean, my question is, how did math put someone on the fucking moon? And
That is a real question.
Need answers.
That feels like the real conspiracy.
Like literally, like there's like pictures of the real women who were like working with NASA, and you just see like math everywhere, like on paper. I'm just like, excuse me, like what are these like shapes? What are these symbols?
Yeah.
It's
like
the path that the rocket will take.
Look.
Like, yeah, I mean, like you get it up to a certain extent, and then it's like, I mean, it's like a philosophy, basically, like anything else.
Yeah, just because it got us to the moon doesn't mean it's okay.
Yeah, basically, fuck math.
Wait, is math canceled?
Dude,
Yes.
math's been canceled for a long time. When
Yes,
I was
cancel math.
when I was in middle school, I was not even on like elementary level math yet. Like they could not get me past like a certain point. And by the time I graduated high school, I had never gotten more than a 13% on a math test. And no one was like, well, this seems like a problem. They were mostly like, you just need tutoring.
Why are you so bad at this?
why aren't you good at this? Yeah, so
Yeah, I feel like I just got by learning like math hacks, but like that's not really learning math.
I mean,
But, like I learned enough to get to to at least get a C or a D.
Did
to get out of a class.
Did you learn to put the quadratic equation to like the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel?
I did, yes.
Same. That was sick. I loved any loved any school thing being turned into a song.
Yeah.
I didn't have any songs, just like, there's like Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally.
There's also Foil.
Oh yeah, Foil. I forgot
First
about
outside,
Foil.
inside last.
It still doesn't fucking help me. Like, I don't.
Yeah, I don't know when I would use that, but I'm like, I'm better at remembering like something like that than I am at remembering like a math equation.
Here's what I'm gonna tell you. I do my own taxes. Okay, I am a self-employed person living in the United Kingdom. I do my own taxes. I make my own deductions. I file for myself. I have never had to use fucking algebra, and I'm really good at doing my taxes. I am like good at being a grown-up person, and I don't have to use anything that I learned in school.
Yeah, the only thing I regularly do is sometimes I have to round a decimal up.
Yeah, all
5
right.
and up, round up, 4 and down, round down. Hey.
Wait, what? Oh, I didn't know there was a little thing for that. I thought that was just a thing we all do. I'm really good at figuring out what tips should be on like a check. I'm really good at that. That's literally the only thing I can do with math. So this has been a long conversation about math.
Equations. Yeah, those are the equations they should be emphasizing when they teach us.
They should be teaching us, like, if you go into a store and there's something on a rack that says $15.99, but there's going to be tax added to it, or it's on sale, they should teach you what the real price is going to be. That's what they should be teaching you in math class.
I mean, yeah, much like wheels, we all just have to learn enough to try to pass a test. And then immediately forget it.
Yes, a cramming king. All right, that didn't sound right. Moving on.
All right. So now we're going to build into the horror movie aspect of this Degrassi episode. So first we have Susie's working on the yearbook in the back of Miss Avery's classroom, and Caitlin was helping her, but she has to go, so she leaves her there alone. When all of the other students leave, Colby asks Susie how the yearbook is going, and she tells him it's going to be really hard to decide which pictures to put in. And this is when Colby, sitting in front of a collage, suggests making a collage for the yearbook, and Susie replies, "What's that?" And then he then feels the need to stand directly behind her to show her how to make a collage. It's very much like when someone's like playing golf and they're like, "Oh, let me help you." It's like, "Oh, let me help you figure out how to put this collage together." Totally unnecessary to stand so close.
All he had to do was point his finger behind him. Be like, that's a collage, baby.
This is a collage. Do you get it?
Like, girl, we've been making these in class. They're literally everywhere. You probably made one in kindergarten. Yeah.
Your Nora Jean probably made a collage yesterday.
Okay, well, Nora Jean, as we've already seen, is like an accomplished artist, and she's probably like gonna win the Turner Prize. So good for her.
True. All right, so Lucy walks in. Oh, Lucy's like holding her photos, so she has brought her photos finally. She walks in, but then she sees Colby leaning over Susie's shoulder, and Lucy starts to kind of panic and then flashes back to the nightmare Colby ASMR. She drops the pictures and her notebook, and she like runs out of the room, and then Colby picks her things up and runs after her.
And follows her.
Like the goddamn Terminator.
Yeah.
She is like running.
Because she's running and he's like sort of doing the slow but persistent walk behind her.
This was some I know what you did last summer shit. She is like running. She's trying to open every door in that school. Apparently everything is locked, even though like there's people in there.
And then Colby starts gaslighting her and telling her not to be scared. They used to be friends, and it wasn't what she thought with Susie. He was just helping her, and he says he tried to help Lucy too because she was lonely, she needed someone to talk to, and that all they did was talk. If anything had happened, she would have told somebody. Lucy tells him if he comes any closer, she'll scream, and he gives her photos back to her and then leaves.
No.
Yeah. I mean, just the description in itself, it's like obviously totally inappropriate. And like, yeah, the gaslighting. It's like the perfect example of gaslighting.
What you saw just now, it wasn't what you think.
Right? It's just, and then we even see Lucy kind of internalize the same thing. She said some of the same things to LD and Wheels when they were like talking about Colby earlier.
At one point, he's like, you have to watch that imagination of yours. I hate it, and I have nothing good to say about it. I'm just angry.
It's a really scary scene for Degrassi. Like, you know, we've seen for like really intense moments. I think there was like when we saw like Rick and his dad. I think that was another like really intense and like kind of scary scene. But this is probably the scariest scene that we've had in Degrassi like to date, because even, you know, the scenes with Colby and with Susie and with Lucy before were very uncomfortable, but him actually like following her through the school and like the way that her fear just is kind of like building and she's afraid to even be alone with him. I think it's like a really telling moment of like, even though she's downplaying it, she's saying she's not bothered, she clearly is like having a physical scared response to just being in the presence of this person.
I mean, there's a lot of different trauma responses, and she is very much like experiencing a fight or flight response to even just seeing him. And also she's having PTSD flashbacks. She sees him with Susie doing basically the exact same thing that he was doing to her.
He's just playing head games with her by chasing her through an entire school, and then he's like, I was just trying to give you your pictures back. Like,
right.
Ugh.
Yeah.
No.
Like, that's not what you were doing, and we all know it.
You know what you did.
Yeah. But yeah, so he's further like intimidating her, but then even downplaying that. Like and that's also like, you know, with him seeing robotic, it's also just him being really calculated, where if anyone asked why he was running after her, like, well, she dropped all of her notebooks and she ran out of the classroom. I was just making sure that she was okay. I was just returning her like books to her. Like, he always, because like it's a good illustration of the power dynamic, where he's an adult person and he's always thinking of a way to cover up his actions and to explain away his actions if it does become an issue. And, you know, Lucy's just stuck just reacting to like what's happening, because she can't think a step ahead, because she's just like stuck like literally reliving like what's already happened and then having these continued experiences with him.
And he's really trading in that currency of being liked and being beloved by other students and by even the other adults in the school. Like, no one's going to suspect he's doing anything sinister.
Right, because no one else is walking around or paying attention at all. But now, like, not only did Wheels witness this inappropriate interaction between Colby and Lucy, but now Lucy's witnessed an inappropriate interaction. So this is clearly like happening, but there's no adults who are like just around in general to like see something like this, and for them to get the feeling of like, that doesn't look right. So back to our B plot. So Alex finds Susie before class the next morning to tell her his new idea, casino day. Susie doesn't think that they'll be allowed to gamble, though.
And this is where we get Joey's line, who's ever heard of a -2?
Oh, yeah.
How do you have less than nothing? And I'm just like, right on, dude. So angry about math.
Can relate.
Oh my God, I can't believe that I didn't use that as my can relate for later. But when Alex suggests the casino day, I feel like they're like, again, they're not even like, oh, that'd be fun, but they probably won't let us. They're just like, no.
No.
We can't gamble. Duh. Casino theme is like the go-to fundraiser idea for every television show ever.
I was just about to reference Casino Night, the episode of The Office.
The episode of The Office in Georgia and Ginny, they also do like a casino night.
Yep. Dude, I think
Don't
they have
do-
a casino. They have a Vegas night later on in, I think, Degrassi: The Next Generation.
Yeah, it's not allowed. It's not allowed at Degrassi Junior High, but it is allowed
At Degrassi
post-brunch
Community
culture.
School. Yeah,
You're like, sure.
that's fine.
So Colby also finds Susie before class and tells her that he's staying late today so he can help her with the yearbook after school.
Just get lost, dude.
I don't like the way he keeps framing it as help. It really.
Yep. Nope.
Oof.
Melanie has been keeping tabs on Colby and tells Kathleen that Miss Avery might be out for another week, so Colby might end up staying longer, and Kathleen thinks that she's obsessed with him.
She is. The resident horny person is so stoked.
I just
about
had
this
to note every
development.
time, Kathleen was correct in this episode.
It's so hard for me to admit, but I do agree.
Yeah. Lucy overhears them talking about Colby, and then she sees Colby talking to Susie again, and he's going full Miss Avery now and touching Susie's shoulder.
He's also doing a very, in my opinion, very like fucked up thing here. So he is kind of like, you're doing all the work on the yearbook, and like she's explaining that there's other people, but they have exams. He's like, right, but you have exams too. And I was sitting there thinking about it, and I'm like, he's kind of causing drama and tension among the yearbook staff. And I think that's intentional to isolate her from a support group that she would have, so that he specifically can creep on her.
And he can be like, I'm the only one here to help you.
Yeah, but he's also like making her angry at people around her. She's already mad that Lucy was late, but like if Colby keeps being like, well, you're doing all of the work, which is really inappropriate for a teacher to say.
And also, he doesn't know. He's been there for like a couple days.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, so once he leaves, Lucy warns Susie to be careful around him, but Susie wants to know why. Lucy's not really comfortable talking about it with her, so Susie just ends up getting mad and defending Colby as being nice.
And she also was like, well, at least he's helping me with the yearbook.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It really just goes right to what you were saying. Like Susie's like isolated from her friends, maybe not specifically because of what Colby said, but like she's already annoyed with Lucy. So she's like, I don't know. You're like, I don't want to listen to you.
Yeah. She's like,
And
you're full of shit.
And
Yep.
she doesn't, I mean, and she's maybe kind of young to think about this, but she doesn't really stop to think like, why would another like female classmate of mine be warning me to be careful around a male like authority figure? And like I'm not going to hold it against her, because of course she's not thinking of, you know, that a teacher is going to act this way towards students. But it's that kind of like, as you get older, I think you learn to maybe interpret those kinds of warnings different. But Susie's just kind of like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's really nice. I don't really like fuck with you. So like, let's not have this conversation.
It's weird. In my notes, I wrote, I feel like even at this age, girls do listen to each other when they're warned about something like this.
That's what I would think. But then, yeah, like Susie's not here for it. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to say about this scene is that Lucy is wearing my look of the week.
Oh.
So she's wearing like an oversized like emerald green sweater with a skinny sparkly scarf around her neck. And then she has an additional green scarf in her hair.
Oh, I love it.
She looks great.
We've seen Lucy pair some really cool stuff with these sort of flowy or tuley skirts before, because that was my look of the week. I want to say maybe even in Egbert. She had that bomber jacket on and then like a very floofy
Yeah,
skirt.
Yeah. I mean, Lucy always looks good. I actually really liked her outfit from earlier in the episode too. She's got like a yellow top and like kind of black, almost like not overalls, but some kind of outfit. I mean, and she's got a brooch just like right in the center of her chest. I love it. I love the way they're just very like free with their brooches in the Degrassi universe.
The Degrassi cinematic universe.
Yeah, they'll just put a brooch anywhere. It's great.
No rules.
Yeah. So next we have Lucy, LD, Wheels, and Colby all ending up in the resource center again, and Lucy is staring at Colby, having another flashback to what happened. LD notices her staring and tries to put her hand on Lucy's shoulder to get her attention, but it startles her, and Lucy yells at LD not to touch her. LD is like kind of taken aback by this, and then Lucy like runs out to her locker with LD and Wheels following her.
Just super quick, because I feel like I don't want to take too much time away from this scene, but LD here is in my look of the week.
Hey.
Yeah.
This is one of those times where Degrassi LD and me LD converge and we become one. She is wearing just some pretty normal straight leg jeans. She's got a maroon crew neck sweatshirt and then just a t-shirt underneath. And she's also got, you don't get a super good look at it in this scene, but later on in the episode you will, like a very, what I think looks very sturdy, like brick red tote bag. And I'm very into it and would also love to have this tote bag.
That's a good bag.
I just feel like she's looking real good. Love to see it. I haven't seen LD in something that I was super stoked about for a little while. And I was pretty happy to see this dope crew neck.
And our looks of the week are in the same scene together.
Oh.
My look is in your screenshot.
It is. You get a good shot of the back of it too. You get that gold belt.
Lucy's outfit, yeah. LD and Wheels think that Lucy's just pretending that Colby doesn't bother her.
You guys make such a big deal out of it. It is a big deal. It happened months ago, and you're still upset.
LD and Wheels think that she should report Colby, and they offer to go with her, but she doesn't want anyone to know what happened. LD tells her that she didn't do anything wrong, but Lucy still blames herself and says she was lonely and Colby was just trying to help and she just wants them to leave her alone.
She has internalized.
Yes. Yep.
But also Lucy puts on a really beautiful sweater at her locker and this look just like keeps getting better and better.
I loved that sweater. I wanted to make just that sweater my look of the week, but decided to pick a full bod.
Understandable. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. I just had to shout out the sweater.
It's fine. It's amazing. It's like a chunky knit. It's got a cool print. I love it.
It's a good look. But yeah, so I mean, LD and Wheels are, they're being supportive here. They're offering to like, it's not just like it's not like you just have to go talk about what happened. We also have our own stories to share about what happened. But yeah, Lucy's just like not really ready to talk about this. Yeah. Nothing?
No one's got anything to say. It's a bummer.
I can't believe we've had this much to talk about like so far.
I mean, to be fair, we literally have not talked about the episode. We've talked about Buffy. We've talked about Riverdale.
Caitlin has to leave school early again. So Susie is working solo on the yearbook when Colby comes in and shuts the door behind him.
Nope.
Susie is working on the collage, and Colby starts being an absolute creep under the guise of helping her.
Nope.
She keeps trying to talk about the project while Colby stands uncomfortably close and invades her space.
No.
She literally has to push him to get away, and she runs out of the classroom.
Oh!
No.
Well, so that's that.
So that all happened.
Colby is now
bad.
2 students running from Miss Avery's classroom, and still no adults have like just caught even a whiff of anything unsavory going on.
Where Raditch?
I was gonna say, where is like the janitor who sees all?
No.
Like that's who I would expect would be just like around after school.
And I think she's there. This is when we see her in that like jumpsuit or like coveralls or whatever. She's got her hair black now. She's like in the hallway mopping the floor before the scene starts. But then when Susie runs out of the room, we just see the mop and the bucket just sitting there. So she's like gone off to do something else. So it's weird. They have like a person stationed kind of outside the door, but then she's just like for some reason she's not there when Susie runs out.
I actually like that. It makes it a little creepier that there's just sort of something kind of statically sitting there. Like, I don't know. It worked. It worked for me. No, for me, I'm like, this doesn't seem like it's that late after school. So, like, I gotta assume Raditch is there, and he feels like he'd be the, like, king no running in the halls. Like, I feel like he would, like, his supersonic ears would like zero in on the sound of feet running in a hallway, and he'd be like on it, but no, apparently.
Or, you know, maybe someone would have heard her yell,
No.
But no. All right. So Susie still has to pick up Nora Jean before she can actually go home. So she goes to the daycare center where Lucy and Nora Jean are hanging out reading a book together. They can tell that Susie is upset, and Susie tells Nora Jean to hurry up. Lucy tries to ask what's wrong, but Susie just wants to go home. Lucy follows them out and asks again what happened, but Susie doesn't want to tell her. Lucy grabs her arm and asks if he did something, if he touched her. Susie asks why she cares, and Lucy tells her that he did it to her too.
Wow.
Nora Jean asks what's going on, and Susie starts to cry and tells Lucy that she trusted Colby and she liked him, and Lucy hugs her, and then Nora Jean hugs them both, and we all cry.
The little group hug situation.
This was like a very powerful scene. I felt like the fact that they included Nora Jean, I just like, I don't know, something about that. It made it like really sad. It sort of showed like how far are they from being like Nora Jean, you know? Like it's showing like, and also just the fact that even Nora Jean could like, she sees that something is wrong and like they're talking and she can't really follow the conversation, but even she is like picking up on this frequency of like, this is like something really upsetting is like happening.
Oh, Nora Jean's going to be talking about this one in therapy in a few years.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's going to be like in her 30s and trying to figure out why she doesn't trust men.
Right.
And she's going to be like, there was this conversation and I just can't remember all of it, you know?
She's like, I know it was about men and how they're bad.
I mean, they are. She's not wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I think that it just goes, I think that they gave us a lot of Nora Jean in this episode to sort of show us what's at stake when you don't report things. You know what I mean? Like the next generation of kids who are going to be harassed.
Totally.
Right. Yeah. Like, and you know, it's something you wouldn't necessarily think about, and Lucy brings this up later. But for Susie, it's like, what if in a few years, Nora Jean just comes home from school and is like, oh, yeah, we had a substitute today. Like, did you ever have Mr. Colby?
And by that point, he'll be like 50.
Yeah, but someone will still be calling him hot for some reason. Well, maybe he won't age because he's a robot.
A robot expression.
Or because he's drinking the blood of middle schoolers.
Well, instead of oil, he needs blood.
Oh, yeah.
To service his parts.
Oh, so back to Alex. The last we'll see of Alex.
For this episode, he doesn't die.
He's not going to die or anything. Just on our final Alex scene. Okay. So Alex finds Caitlin before school and shares his final idea. A walkathon.
Okay, also a good idea.
Yeah, but Caitlin tells him they won't have time for a walkathon because of exams. Yeah, they really do shut down all of his ideas like, well, obviously there's no time for a walkathon because of exam. Like, they always just act like he didn't spend more than 5 minutes thinking about this idea. And it's like, this seems like a brainstorming session. You don't have to be so rude.
Also, like, walkathons don't last that long. They're usually on like a Saturday or a Sunday morning. Like,
yeah.
He could even flip it on its head. It could be like the parents are walking. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
The teachers are walking. I did walkathons as a kid.
Well, we will not be seeing a walkathon.
He's like, listen, Caitlin, I heard your feedback that everyone at school has sneakers.
And I've got a new idea.
So boy, have I got an idea for you. And
You're
she's
gonna
just
love
like,
this
fuck
one.
you, Alex. Bums me out, man. I think he is just like a nonstop good idea machine, and they are just shooting it down. And I think they're just jealous.
You're just jealous.
Could be. So Caitlin tells him again that he should just do what they did last year. And he finally asks what they did last year. And it turns out they just asked Doris to give them more money.
Okay, so I understand that Alex has like learned a lesson here or whatever, but I really do think he's got a future in community organizing. Mutual aid is a lot more sustainable than asking people in power to give you money.
True.
Wow, the real lesson.
Yeah.
What we should have learned.
Like, Alex is just like subscribing to those like rules for radicals as laid out in the 70s by Saul Alinsky. He is just like a powerful organizer. And they're just like, oh, why don't you just like rely on capitalism?
Yeah.
Why don't you just ask for money?
Why don't you just ask office mommy?
No, mobilize your community, man. Make everyone invested in the project.
So Lucy, LD, and Wheels are waiting for Susie outside of the principal's office before school. Melanie runs into Susie before she gets there and tells her that Colby is gone. He called in sick and they're getting another substitute.
Bye.
A sub for the sub.
A sub. So Susie finds them outside of the office and tells them that Colby is gone, so they don't have to report him anymore. But Lucy and LD tell her they still need to report him because he's just going to do it to someone else, and in a couple of years, it could be Nora Jean.
And we do not love to see intergenerational trauma.
No.
No.
So they tell Doris they want to talk to Mr. Lawrence, and as usual, she tells them that he's very busy, but they tell her it's important, and then we end with a freeze frame on Susie, Wheels, Lucy, and LD.
What is with this woman gatekeeping students' access to their principal?
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's weird, right? Like, she's like,
It's
well, it has to be
very weird.
very important. And it's like, that's not really the way we want to speak to students who want to speak to their principal.
They're like trying to
Right.
be engaged.
And who have also been hesitant to even bring this up at all, and then that could like discourage them from actually like, oh well, I don't know, maybe it's not important. Like,
Yeah, exactly. As we've discussed, there's a lot of reasons people don't report stuff. And like, there's a lot of barriers to even getting to the point where you put in a report. And that's your first one. The very first person is like, but is it important enough?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm throwing up a lot of middle fingers this episode.
So I mean that's it. So
Well, that's
we
that.
don't really know what happens. This is what I mean, where like I guess we're just supposed to like assume that they reported him and then Degrassi took some kind of action to like not have him come back to school, but we don't know.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
Can't relate.
I related to LD. She was really good at being diligent and encouraging Lucy to step forward, but to me, she never seemed like she was out of line or being mean. She was just worried.
I too related to LD because I'm also aggressively helpful. But also in retrospect, I related to Wheels because math is confusing and also stupid.
Hell yeah.
I also related to LD in this episode. It's so hard to feel helpless in a situation like this, and she really tried to like be respectful of Lucy's feelings while also advocating for disclosing what happened because she just didn't want anyone else to be hurt. So, friends, what did we learn today?
My main takeaway this week is that you don't always know what someone else is dealing with. It may seem like a person is blowing you off or acting absent, but there may be things going on in their life that are distracting them.
Too much. We learned too much. That's it, man.
Yeah, we
This
really
was-
did. Yeah.
This was a tough one for me. I felt like, of course, we learned that like there's a lot of reasons people don't disclose assault or harassment. I feel like we learned that terrible men will probably keep being terrible. We learned about the effects of trauma on people. We learned a lot of stuff, man. Too much.
Yeah.
Yes.
We did. We learned just like, how complex it can be for victims and survivors of sexual assault to like talk about what happened to them, even when they have supportive friends, even when somebody else witnessed what happened. Like, they really go through all of the kind of, the thought process that you might have about like, but what's going to happen if I disclose, and the ways that you kind of try to downplay things to yourself. And I don't know what we can take away from this other than, it does usually fall on, victims and survivors to talk about what happened to try to prevent it from happening to someone else. And it's really unfortunate that that burden falls on them. But, a lot of times that's the only way that like any kind of action can really be taken when, people are sort of like, when they feel okay enough to like talk about what happened and to share that with other people, and then other people can kind of support them through that process. But it's just, there's really like, there's not a really great outcome here, other than we saw people who didn't have a lot in common are sort of bonded by this negative experience, but maybe also in a positive way going forward. Like, now they have this shared experience that hopefully they can like kind of move on from together.
Like, fuck, is Susie gonna give a shit about anybody else?
I know.
Though? Let's. Now,
Nora Jean, though.
Nora Jean's got more empathy than like anyone else in this episode.
She is an empathy queen.
Yeah.
You can listen to I'm Sorry, Okay, a Degrassi podcast on Acast, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you enjoy what we're doing here at I'm Sorry, Okay, be sure to give us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts.
Thanks for listening. You can follow us on social media at I'm Sorry Okay Pod. OK is spelled OKAY, and email us at I'mSorryOkayPod@gmail. That's it for He's Back. Next week, we'll be watching the Season 2 finale of Degrassi Junior High, past tense. If you have been affected by sexual assault, you are not alone. No matter what stage of recovery you're at, support is available for survivors and loved ones. You can talk to a trained staff member or connect with a local sexual assault service provider by calling 800-656-HOPE, or you can chat with someone online at online.rain.org. RAIN is spelled RAINN.